I've always believed that your best friend is supposed to be the one person you can trust more than anyone else. The one person you'd never second guess, the one you'd defend against anyone's accusations. For most of my life, that person was Daniel. We met when we were both 10, bonded over comic books and video games, and stuck together through school, college, and even the struggles of early adulthood. If someone had told me a year ago that one night would shatter everything I believed about him, I would have laughed in their face. But that's exactly what happened. Daniel was the type of guy who made everyone feel comfortable. He was charismatic, funny in an easygoing way, and always seemed like he had things under control. He wasn't rich or particularly ambitious, but people gravitated toward him. He had this knack for making you believe that he cared, that he understood you better than most. And I wasn't just his best friend, I was his brother in every way except blood. We had an unspoken rule: if one of us was in trouble, the other would be there, no questions asked. And for years, that's exactly how it went. I helped him through messy breakups, he covered for me when I bombed job interviews and didn't want my family to know. We'd spend entire nights driving aimlessly through the city, talking about life, sharing secrets we never told anyone else. At least, I thought they were secrets. The first time I noticed something strange was about 6 months before that night. Daniel had started disappearing without explanation. Normally, he was transparent with me. If he was dating someone, I'd know. If he had money problems, he'd tell me. But suddenly, he'd vanish for hours, sometimes entire evenings, with vague excuses like just running some errands or had to help someone out. He brushed it off when I asked, and I didn't push. After all, everyone deserves their privacy, right? But it wasn't just that. He started lying, small lies at first. I'd call him and he'd say he was home, but I'd hear traffic noise in the background. He told me he was broke, then bought an expensive new phone. Once, he said he couldn't hang out because he was sick, but I ran into him later that night at a bar across town. When I confronted him about it, he laughed it off, said he just didn't want to disappoint me by canceling last minute. I wanted to believe him. I did. But in the back of my mind, doubt was slowly planting roots. The breaking point came one cold Friday night in November. We had plans to hang out at my place, but Daniel texted me last minute saying something came up. The message was rushed, almost sloppy, which wasn't like him. For reasons I can't fully explain, I had this gnawing feeling that something was off. Instead of going to bed, I decided to drive by his apartment, not to spy on him, I told myself, just to make sure he was okay. When I got there, his car wasn't parked outside. The lights in his apartment were off. That alone wasn't unusual, but as I turned to leave, I saw his car speeding down the street, headlights off. He didn't notice me, but I noticed him. Something in me said follow him. I trailed him across town, keeping a safe distance. He wasn't heading to a friend's house or a bar. He drove to an industrial area, the kind of place you wouldn't go to unless you had a reason. Old warehouses, abandoned factories, broken streetlights, not exactly the scene for casual midnight errands. He pulled into a deserted lot behind a storage building and killed his engine. I parked further away and waited. For a while, nothing happened. Then I saw him get out of the car, looking around like he was making sure no one was watching. My heart was racing. Daniel wasn't the paranoid type. What the hell was he doing here? Then another car pulled up. A black SUV with tinted windows. 2 men got out. They looked rough, the kind of men you'd avoid on the street. Daniel greeted them like he knew them, shaking hands quickly, then popping open the trunk of his car. My stomach dropped. He pulled out a large duffel bag and handed it over. The men opened it, checked inside, and nodded. One of them tossed him an envelope. Cash. I couldn't breathe. My best friend, the guy who used to skip class with me to play video games, who once cried on my shoulder when his dog died, was standing in an abandoned lot at midnight, making what looked like a deal straight out of a crime show. I should have left. I should have driven away and pretended I never saw any of it. But I didn't. I stayed, frozen, watching. When the men left, Daniel didn't leave immediately. He stood there, staring at the envelope, almost like he hated himself for taking it. Then, to my shock, he looked directly toward where I was parked. I ducked down, heart hammering. Did he see me? I didn't know. After a long, agonizing minute, I peeked up. His car was gone. I didn't sleep that night. My mind was in overdrive, playing back every conversation, every lie, every unexplained disappearance. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, but deep down, I knew better. The next day, I confronted him. I couldn't hold it in. I told him I'd seen everything. His face went pale, and for the first time in years, Daniel didn't have that confident smirk or clever excuse. He just stared at me like he was calculating whether to deny it or admit it. Finally, he sighed and said, "You weren't supposed to find out." I demanded answers. He told me bits and pieces, that he'd gotten mixed up with the wrong people, that it started with favors and spiraled into things he couldn't back out of. He said he was in too deep, that if he walked away now, it wouldn't just be his life at risk, but mine too, because now I knew. That night changed everything. I didn't call the cops. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't. I wish I could say I walked away from him completely, but it wasn't that simple. He was still my best friend, and despite everything, a part of me wanted to save him. But another part of me was terrified of what else I didn't know, terrified of what he was capable of, terrified that one day his secret world would drag me down with him. It's been months since that night, and I still don't know how to handle it. Sometimes, when we hang out, I catch myself staring at him, wondering which version is real, the best friend I grew up with, or the stranger I saw in that dark parking lot. Maybe both are real. Maybe I just never really knew him at all. That night, I couldn't sleep. The words he whispered kept echoing in my head, like a warning I wasn't supposed to ignore. "You don't know me," he had said. Just 4 words, but they stripped away every layer of trust we had built over the years. The next day, I tried to act normal. We met for lunch, and he was his usual self, laughing, telling jokes, teasing me about the same old things. But I couldn't stop staring at him, searching his face for cracks in the mask. Did he know that I had overheard? Did he know that his secret had slipped through the silence of the night? Days passed, and the uneasiness grew heavier. I began to notice small things I had always ignored before: late-night phone calls, sudden disappearances, the way he sometimes seemed to know things he shouldn't. Once, I mentioned a problem at work I hadn't told anyone about, and he gave me a solution before I'd even explained the full story. How could he have known? The turning point came 2 weeks later. We were at his apartment, playing video games, when his phone buzzed. He excused himself and stepped out, but he forgot to lock his screen. I shouldn't have looked, but something pulled me to it, some gut feeling screaming that I needed to see what he was hiding. What I found shattered me. Dozens of messages. Strange conversations. Mentions of places I didn't recognize. And names, so many names. Some I knew, some I didn't. But all of them tied to events, accidents, and tragedies that had happened in our city over the past year. He wasn't just keeping secrets. He was involved. My hands trembled as I placed the phone back before he returned. He walked in with a smile, carrying 2 cans of soda, and handed me one like nothing was wrong. But I couldn't look at him the same way anymore. My best friend, the person I trusted more than anyone, was living a double life. I left early that night, making excuses, my mind a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. I didn't sleep again. My chest felt heavy, and every sound outside my window made me jump. For the first time, I wasn't sure if being close to him was safe. The real breaking point came when I decided to confront him. I rehearsed what I would say, prepared myself for every answer. But when I looked him in the eyes and asked, "Who are you really?" he just smiled, a hollow, chilling smile, and said, "I was wondering when you'd finally ask." That was the moment I knew, my best friend wasn't who I thought he was.